Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 238 based on novel. So let's start. Soon, under the leadership of the old man, Xiao Yan came to a stone gate. Along the way, the white-haired old man kept beating around the bush with Xiao Yan, trying to find out the identity of the latter. After all, he was so young and invited by the vice president himself. He didn't believe what the Black-Robed Youth Association was. Unfortunately, despite the old man's interrogation, Xiao Yan responded skillfully from beginning to end. Old people can't ask for any useful information. Finally, the two people simply became quiet until they came to the stone gate. There is a living room outside the stone gate, which is fully furnished. At the moment, when Xiao Yan arrived, they found that Jioming and the old man who met outside the Alliance of Herbalists were also here, and looked at their appearance, they seemed to be waiting for something. When they saw the arrival of Xiao Yan, they also got up quickly. The old man's eyes immediately fell on Han Dan, but Jioming on the side. At the moment of seeing Xiao Yan, his eyes had been fixed on the latter, frowning and suspicious. He couldn't figure out how the hairy boy could appear here. "Haha, Deacon Han, why are you free? Are you also looking for the vice president?" Hearing the speech, Han Dan smiled faintly, and a pair of old eyes swept the old man. "The sidewalk. It's all right. It's just that this little friend wants to see the vice president, so I brought him here." Then, the old man's eyes noticed Xiao Yang beside Han Dan, and his eyebrows immediately wrinkled. Unexpectedly, it was Xiao Yang who had met before. "Oh, so it is. I didn't expect that this young friend could be appreciated by the vice president. But I'm sorry, I have an appointment with the vice president today, so I think I'd better come back another day." The old man looked at Xiao Yang with his eyes narrowed. He was surprised that Han Dan could take him here personally. Naturally, he could imagine the reason. However, he had an appointment with the vice president, but he could not give in for any reason. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang could not help frowning. If so, even if it was some trouble, then Han Dan beside him grinned and said, "Master Zhao," that said, "it seems that you can't decide who the vice president wants to see. Therefore, I think it's better to let the vice president choose whether to go or stay." As soon as he said this, Master Zhao's face suddenly changed slightly. Then he smiled, nodded, and stopped talking. Subsequently, Han Dan left without hesitation, leaving Xiao Yang sitting opposite the two people. "Hihi, sir, if you are really a young hero, you will be invited to join by the vice president of the Herbalist Alliance at a young age. The future can be said to be unlimited. Mister, it's just good luck." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang smiled faintly and responded. Seeing this, Jioming, on the side of the old man, immediately frowned and wanted to open his mouth, but he was stopped by the old man again. "My husband Zhao Chuanchen is the chief herbalist of Liulicheng Herbalist Guild. Of course, he won't be anymore after today, but I don't know where my little friend comes from." Zhao Chuanchen looked at Xiao Yang carefully. He believed that since the other party could be personally invited by the vice president of the Medicine Refining Association, the young man in black was by no means unknown. "Xiao Men." After a little thought, Xiao Yang replied to these two words faintly. However, when Zhao Chuanchen and Jioming heard the speech, they immediately frowned. They have also lived in the western regions for many years, but they have never heard of such a force. Is it an unknown small sect? With this in mind, the two masters and disciples immediately sneered. Since they were people who came out of those small forces, there was basically nothing to be afraid of. Even Vice President Han Dong personally invited them to join the Alliance of Herbalists, but in front of the high-level herbalists, a boy who had just come out of Maolu couldn't control anything at all. As soon as his eyes turned, Zhao Chuanchen looked at Xiao Yang again, grinned and said with a smile, "To tell you the truth, it's not that I have to embarrass you. However, I have an appointment with Vice President Han Dong today. He and I are bound to meet. At that time, I'm afraid the Vice President will have no time to greet you again. Therefore, in order not to embarrass the Vice President, I'd better leave first, stay in the city for a day, and then visit again." At the same time, Zhao Chuanchen's dark old eyes were also staring at Xiao Yang. An invisible pressure came face to face. However, Xiao Yang regarded it as nothing. Oh! With a sneer, Xiao Yang raised his eyes, stared at Zhao Chuanchen opposite, and said in a flat tone. Let me see, it's better for you to leave. Let the vice president drive you away at that time. In that case, your old face may not hang. Boy, don't be disrespectful. My teacher has never been so polite to people. Today, I'm looking forward to the face of the vice president, so I'm patient with you. If you know the truth, you'd better leave here as soon as possible, otherwise, don't blame me for driving you away. Seeing that Xiao Yang was indifferent, Jiao Ming beside Zhao Chuanchen immediately felt the opportunity coming. When he stood up, a momentum belonging to the five-star fighting emperor also gushed out of himself and rushed straight towards Xiao Yang. However, in the face of this momentum, Xiao Yang just snorted coldly. It was also an invisible force that swept out immediately. It was like an invisible storm. On the premise that Zhao Chuanchen had no time to respond, he bumped Jiao Ming out and smashed him on the wall behind him. Boy, don't go too far. He's my apprentice. When Zhao Chuanchen came to his senses, Jiao Ming was already pale and fell to the ground. He couldn't help moaning. The former turned his angry eyes to Xiao Yang and shouted angrily. Oh, yes, the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. The apprentice should fight. You, a master, should fight. What are you talking about? Xiao Yang's words fell, and Zhao Chuanchen's spirit was shocked. However, before he could recover, Xiao Yang suddenly took his hand and slapped Zhao Chuanchen in the air. For a moment, he couldn't tolerate the latter's refutation. His body fell to the ground. Then, just as Xiao Yang was ready to continue to fight, the closed stone door in the depths of the hall slowly opened. At the same time, a slightly familiar voice also came out. Xiao Yang, for my sake, let him go this time. While hearing the familiar voice, Xiao Yangang just raised his palm and paused, smiled, and said, Now that the vice president has spoken, I naturally want to give this face. Hehe, I haven't seen you for several years. I can't imagine that you are not what you used to be. I can't catch up with you with all your accomplishments. It's really that the waves behind the Yangtze River push the waves ahead. When the stone gate was opened, an old man dressed in a herbalist's robe stepped out from behind the stone gate, looked at Xiao Yang with a kind smile, looked up and down, and his eyes were full of amazement. Now, the young man in black robe in front of him has already unknowingly become a figure that even he is sighing about. President Han, I haven't seen you for years. You are also old and strong. Turning to Han Dong, Xiao Yang suddenly showed a strong smile on his face and quickly hugged the former respectfully, with solemn meaning. Ha ha, come on, you'd better go in and say something. I don't think you're here just to catch up with the past. He waved his hand gently. Immediately, Han Dong invited Xiao Yang to enter the stone gate. It was not until the stone gate was closed that Zhao Chuanchen got up from the ground in horror. He recalled the dialogue between Han Dong and Xiao Yang just now, especially when he thought of Xiao Yang's name. The panic in his old eyes was even worse. Xiao Yang. He is that Xiao Yang. With panic in his heart, Zhao Chuanchen panicked and took Jiao Ming to leave the alliance of herbalists. At the same time, Xiao Yang and Han Dong also took their seats in the brightly lit stone chamber. I said, there are only a few days left before the 10-day period, but how can you still have the time to come to me? When the two sat down, Han Dong filled Xiao Yang with a cup of tea and handed it to the latter. Xiao Yang took the tea in front of him and took a sip. Then he smiled. I came here just to repay the president's kindness. I just don't know whether he is in the league now. Hearing the speech, Han Dong looked at Xiao Yang suspiciously. He didn't think that the purpose of the latter was really like what he said. Ha ha, you're here for the Phoenix pill. The president has told me. It's lucky for you. The president just came back not long ago and will leave the league again in recent days. If you come a few days later, I'm afraid you won't see him. Han Dong laughed. Xiao Yang was relieved when he heard this. If so, it means that he still has a chance. Ha ha, boy, it seems that you still remember the old man me. At this time, the closed stone gate was opened again, and a slightly sloppy old man appeared in front of Xiao Yang, who was the president of the Western Region Herbalist Alliance, Xing Qian. Not seen for several years, Xing Qian is still as sloppy as he was at the beginning. However, his feeling has changed inexplicably. When Xiao Yang's eyes fall on Xing Qian, the latter is also looking up and down at Xiao Yang in surprise, and he is even more surprised in his heart. Hiss. Boy, what natural materials and earth treasures have you eaten in recent years? How can you improve so fast that you have reached the late stage of source territory? In just a few years, Xiao Yang's accomplishments have spanned a large section than before, which really shocked Xing Qian. No matter how good his cultivation talent is, it can't be improved so quickly. You boy, you don't use some evil secret method. You should understand that those things can help you improve your cultivation, but after all, the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, but you can't joke about your life. When he was shocked, Xing Qian inevitably associated Xiao Yang's reason for rapidly improving his cultivation with the secret methods of those evil sects. Even his body came forward and wanted to check Xiao Yang. However, in the face of Xing Qian's rich imagination, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing. Then he stood up and looked at Xing Qian with a sad face. He bowed his hands respectfully and said, "Please don't worry, elder. The cultivation of younger generation is absolutely steady. It's impossible to rely on any heresy. What you said is true." Even so, Xing Qian's face still showed a suspicious look. After all, the speed of Xiao Yang's cultivation improvement is too exaggerated, which is difficult to prevent him from being suspicious. If you still have doubts, you can do it. You'll know when you try. Xiao Yang took a confident smile on his lips and looked at Xing Qian. At the same time, the source gas in the cyclone in his body also moved. Seeing this, Xing Qian couldn't help raising his eyebrows. He immediately looked at Xiao Yang with interest. A light flashed in the depths of his old eyes and jokingly said, Hey, in that case, you're welcome." When the voice fell, Xing Qian was also impolite. As soon as his palm was lifted, a strong source of qi immediately rose in his palm. Han Dong looked at it and turned his mouth to give way to the two people. Then, Xing Qian, who was only a few steps away from Xiao Yang, set off abruptly. As he stepped forward, he took a palm and patted Xiao Yang's chest. Although he had made preparations, Xiao Yang was shocked to find that Xing Qian's speed was much faster than he thought. Such speed has long been beyond the scope of the strong in the source environment. Return to the source. At the same time, Xiao Yang also understood. No wonder Xiao Yang felt an inexplicable taste from him. It turned out that Xing Qian's cultivation had broken through to the source. With this in mind, Xiao Yang dared not neglect it. When he thought about it, the source qi in his body immediately began to run rapidly. Tianjue's step and wing elephant decision started at the same time. Not only the body method speed, but also Xiao Yang's overall action operation and the mobilization of source qi became much more agile. Facing the oncoming palm, Xiao Yang quickly raised his right hand and turned it into a palm. His heart moved. The light blue fire quickly condensed in the palm. When Xing Qian's palm hit, he hit it head-on. Bang! Then, the dull collision sound sounded, and Xiao Yang's right arm trembled violently. Immediately, an unparalleled force came from the front and shook it back in one fell swoop. It was not until he withdrew more than 10 steps backward that he shook his body and removed all the remaining strength, which was also the reason why Xing Qian left his hand. The two collide. As Xiao Yang in the later stage of source territory transformation, he is now the most powerful person in the western regions, but he can't get out for a round under Xing Qian's hand. In this way, we can imagine how terrible it is for the strong person who returns to source territory. However, just as Xiao Yang was stabilizing his body, Xing Qian, opposite him, withdrew his palm and looked at the last light blue flame in his palm. His pupils shrank suddenly and his heart was surprised. With his eyesight, he can naturally see that the flame must be a different fire. However, as far as he knows, among all the different fires on the list of different fires, it seems that there is no different fire whose flame is light blue, which surprised him. However, at the same time, Xing Qian can also be sure that at least Xiao Yang's cultivation is definitely not obtained by relying on heresy. In the collision just now, although Xiao Yang is not his opponent, in contrast, the power of the latter is undoubtedly much stronger than other strong people of the same level. This is beyond doubt. Tut tut. Good boy, your cultivation is much thicker than I thought. It seems that you have had many adventures in recent years. After returning to his mind, Xing Qiandang even looked at Xiao Yang for a while and exclaimed. The latter smiled non-committally when he heard the speech, took back the source gas released from his body, and immediately turned his palm, and a jade bottle appeared in Xiao Yang's hand. Elder, this is the third pill I owe you, Fengxiao pill. Seeing the jade vase presented to him by Xiao Yang, Xing Qian was stunned first, then smiled with satisfaction and laughed. Okay, good boy, you still remember that you owe me. In that case, I'll take it. Without any politeness, Xing Qian took the jade bottle in Xiao Yang's hand and glanced at it roughly. A surprised light flashed in his old eyes. Then he took the pill into the ring, and his eyes fell on Xiao Yang again. Little fellow, it seems that not only your accomplishments have soared over the years, but also your medicine refining skills have never fallen. I'm afraid your soul power now is comparable to that of a 5th-level herbalist. With the help of different fire, the quality of the refined pill is really extraordinary. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang smiled, and the old man thought that the pill was not made by him recently, but he didn't know what expression would appear on Xing Qian's face if he knew that the pill was made by Xiao Yang when he first entered the North Sea. Hihi, well, I've taken the pill. Tell me about it. What's the purpose of coming to the Herbalist Alliance? As soon as he said this, Han Dong's sight also returned to Xiao Yang in an instant. Xing Qian and Han Dong don't believe Xiao Yang's intention to come to the Alliance of Herbalists, but they simply return the pills. In the current situation in the Western regions, most forces keep a wait-and-see attitude, and their Alliance of Herbalists is no exception. Xiao Yang found them at this time for no more than one reason. Hihi, since the two elders have asked so, I won't beat around the bush. I'm here to invite the Herbalist Alliance to cooperate and work together. However, before Xiao Yang's voice fell, Xing Qian frowned and raised his hand to signal Xiao Yang to stop. Xiao Yang, you should know that our Alliance of Herbalists belongs to the Central Dantar. Although its forces are all over the mainland, it is not allowed to intervene in the struggle between state forces. That is why Qin Huangmi Valley is so arrogant in the western regions, but he has never set foot in my holy city. He is not only afraid of the Dantar behind the Alliance of Herbalists, but also doesn't want to provoke us for any reason. I hope you can understand that they are involved in their interest disputes. So sorry, we have no reason to participate in the fight between you and Qin Huangmi Valley. Xing Qian's words have already been regarded as the generation of the Herbalist Alliance's rejection of Xiao Yang, which shows that no matter what, the Herbalist Alliance will never intervene in this matter, even if Xiao Yang's invitation is no matter how much. With this in mind, Xiao Yang couldn't help but frown. Since others had said something about it, he naturally didn't need to say anything more. Of course, although we can't send someone to help you, you are also a member of our Herbalist Alliance. Of course, our own people have to take care of their faces. Take this pill and it may be useful. Noticing the helpless look on Xiao Yang's face, Xing Qian turned his eyes and immediately took out a jade bottle from the ring, which also contained a pill. However, from the point of view of Xing Qian's hand, this pill is definitely not comparable to ordinary pills. At least, Xiao Yang doesn't think there will be any pill on him that can compare with this. The 6th-level pill, Dragon Bone Pill, can greatly enhance cultivation in a short time, and the sequelae can be almost ignored. It will make people sleep for half an hour when the medicine is excessive. Unfortunately, it's quite cumbersome to refine. Even I have only one in my hand. I hope it can help you. While Xiao Yang reached out to take the pill, Xing Qian's voice also came into his ears. When Xiao Yang heard the word 6-order pill on the first day of the first day, a surprised light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Unexpectedly, Xing Qian would directly take out a 6-order pill. Then, he was shocked when he heard the efficacy of the Dragon Bone Pill. It can greatly increase the accomplishments of the strong at the level of Huayuanjing in a short time. This alone is frightening enough. This Dragon Bone Pill is really worthy of being a 6th-level pill. If there are more, Xiao Yang is even confident that he can result in Yi Luotian and his gang by one person. With Xiao Yang's cultivation accomplishments now, with this Dragon Bone Pill, his cultivation accomplishments can be improved to the source territory in a short time. If there are more, the effect is unimaginable. Don't think about it, smelly boy. Even if you eat more pills at one time, it can only play the role of one pill. Moreover, although this dragon bone pill has no great side effects, because of its own drug properties, swallowing dragon bone pill again within 3 months after each swallowing of dragon bone pill will not play any role, but it will be harmful. It will continue the prolongation of the drug in the body, so that you can't take it again for a longer period of time in the future. Of course, if anyone insists on refining and making it effective, there will be only a dead end. Once Xing Qian blurted out his words, Xiao Yang immediately turned his mouth and took back his sight, quickly put away the jade bottle in his hand, and then smiled. He naturally understood these principles, but just now it was just a moment's imagination. By the way, I haven't asked you yet. What's your chance of winning this war with Qinhuangmi Valley? As far as I know, there are 4 strong chemical source areas in Qinhuangmi Valley. But here, you and the little girl in Shalin Mountain Range are only 2 chemical source areas. Don't you bet all your expectations on my herbalist alliance. Back to the point, Xing Qian and Han Dong suddenly showed a look of worry on their faces. After all, this is related to the battle between the strong in Huiyuan territory. Only one person's difference is that they can control the victory or defeat of the whole war situation in an instant. Now, it's hard not to worry about the strength of Xiao Yang's side. He knows. Please don't worry, elder. There are some Qinhuangmi Valley. We will only be more than them. Moreover, in my opinion, the real trouble in the war against Qinhuangmi Valley is not them, but Yi Luotian. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Xing Qian and his wife felt a little relaxed at first, then frowned again. They looked at each other, and their eyes were confused. Obviously, they were not familiar with the leaf-falling sky. Yi Luotian was the leader of Kuye sect, one of the 4 main sects in the former Shalin region. He was very hidden. At the beginning, he ended the other 2 main sects in the Tianjua ancient tomb. Later, he even forcibly annexed the 4 main sects and combined with Qinhuangmi Valley. Only now can Qinhuangmi Valley swallow the western region. Hiss. Xiao Yang's simple explanation made the 2 people suddenly understand the causes and consequences of the changes in the western regions in recent years. It seems that all the changes were caused by the falling leaves. After all, before he united with Qinhuangmi Valley, the latter always kept a low profile and retired to the western wilderness. Even in the whole western region, many people have gradually forgotten the superpower that dominated the whole western region. Does Yi Luotian have such means? With his strength, he can make Qinhuangmi Valley, which has been hidden, appear again. They frowned and looked at each other. There was a look of surprise in their eyes. However, Xiao Yang shook his head and said to Xing Qian with deep meaning, "Elder, do you really think that he alone can stir up the situation in the western regions? It's too overestimated him." Before they could ask, Xiao Yang continued to speak. As far as I know, in the western regions, in addition to these known forces, there are other forces hidden in the dark. These forces are not the original forces in the western regions, but the branches distributed from other states or spread here. Xiao Yang's words fell. The look in the eyes of Xing Qian and Han Dong suddenly flashed involuntarily. Xiao Yang's eyelids were slightly low and his face was imperceptible. In fact, Xiao Yang has always been very clear about these so-called foreign forces. Whether it is the alliance of herbalists, the Ghost Hall, or even the Union Pavilion and Tianyun Auction House where Luo Jin is located, he is very clear that these forces he knows come from the same place on the mainland. Midlands. However, now all the situation is not clear, and Xiao Yang is not sure why they want to spread their forces to the border of the mainland, but he can be sure that there must be some potential connection between these forces. Then, when the 2 men came back to their senses, Xiao Yang spoke again, but the words in his mouth instantly changed their faces. The power behind Yi Luotian is a force from the middle region called Ghost Hall. Ghost Hall. With the words in Xiao Yang's mouth, Xing Qian and Han Dong suddenly changed their faces. They couldn't help but look surprised. Unexpectedly, Yi Luotian would be associated with the Ghost Hall. Immediately, the 2 looked at each other again. When they saw the surprised color in each other's eyes, their heart was even more shocked. "Little guy, are you sure that the forces supporting Yi Luotian behind him are really the Ghost Hall?" Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang nodded with certainty on his face. At the same time, he also roughly described the clothes of the people in the ghost hall. At this time, Xing Qian and his two people immediately stopped doubting. Can RAO be so? But Xing Qian still didn't agree to Xiao Yang's joint proposal. Xiao Yang, your news really shocked us, but the league rules can't be broken. You'd better go back first. Xing Qian frowned and thought for a moment, which was a little hesitant. At the same time, Han Dong also glanced at them. They looked at Xing Qian quickly, nodded slightly undetected, and immediately opened his mouth to Xiao Yang, saying, Xiao Yang, why don't you go back first? Of course, we also know that this matter is not so simple on the surface. In order to protect Wani, we can promise you that the alliance will always wait and see. As a last resort, we will ensure your peace. They tried to persuade Xiao Yang to retreat again and again, which really made Xiao Yang feel helpless. After saying thanks, they left on their own. After Xiao Yang left the stone chamber, Xing Qian and his face suddenly became dignified. It's really unexpected that they should also participate in this matter. It seems that they still want to use Qin Huangmi Valley as a cover to secretly control the western regions. Ghost Temple. I haven't heard from them for many years. I can't imagine that this time, they are going to swallow the western regions. Their appetite is really big. At this moment, both of them are repeatedly thinking about the war between Xiao Yang and Qin Huangmi Valley. Especially when they think of the Ghost Hall, they feel an inexplicable uneasiness in their hearts. Even they know little about this strange force. Although they also come from the middle region, the only thing they know about the Ghost Hall is their own family, which is a force called Ghost Temple in the middle region, and, President, do you need to report to the top? Han Dong suddenly spoke. Hearing the speech, Xing Qian thought a little, shook his head and said, Still don't want to. There is a change in the Ghost Hall in the western regions, but I don't know what happens in other regions. Let's inform them first. After investigating the reasons, it's not too late to report to the top. Then, Han Dong nodded. The two people in the stone room also fell into meditation again. At the same time, Xiao Yang was suspicious and rushed to Shaolin Domain. From the expression on Xing Qian's face just now, they are also quite afraid of the Ghost Hall, and seem to be very surprised at the appearance of the people in the Ghost Hall. From this point, it is not difficult to guess that the alliance of herbalists should also secretly pay attention to the actions of the Ghost Hall for a long time. There is also Luo Jin and his gang. The existence of these forces makes Xiao Yang secretly associate in his mind. Their existence does not seem to be an extension of forces. On the contrary, it seems to have a feeling of mutual restraint. Soon, Xiao Yang returned to the Shaolin Mountains. Seeing the smooth return of the former, Xiao Yishen and others in the mountains could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Among these people, what is particularly worried about Xiao Yang is the cold frost with a pretty face. Somehow, seeing Xiao Yang coming back, her heart was much more relaxed and happy than others, and the sultry breath held in her chest also loosened. Looking back on the previous 2 days, Xiao Yang was not there. In her mind, the figure of the former dressed in black and smiling always appeared. At the same time, at the bottom of her heart, the so-called hatred disappeared unconsciously. After returning to the Shaolin Mountains, Xiao Yang began a rapid rectification. On the 9th day, he led the strong behind him to Shahepu. At the same time, the strong in the whole western region were also paying close attention to the war with their own actions. Before Xiao Yang and others arrived, Shahepu was already overcrowded. All powerful and patriarchal forces gathered here from all corners of the western region. These people came for the war between Xiao Yang and Qin Huangmi Valley. On the other side, the people and horses of the Qin Huangmi Valley led by Qin Shuo are also moving towards Shahepu. Among the whole team, Yi Luotian is the only one who is absent, because at this time, the latter is in the West Depression of Pingshan. Pingshan West Depression. Yi Luotian's face was very ugly. He looked at the empty space in front of him and looked at the intact prohibition behind him. An old face was shaking with anger. When he first came here, Yi Luotian saw that the 6 9-star fighting emperors outside were killed. He immediately understood that this was definitely done by the strong man of Huyuan territory, But what relieved him was that the prohibition he left in the deep West Depression of Pingshan was intact, which probably showed that the strong man of Huyuan territory saw this prohibition after killing the 6 people. When you see some of the orifices, you should retreat in the face of difficulties. What he never expected was that when he entered the space after the ban, he was stunned to find that although the ban he had set was still there was no sign of being passive, but the people among them, the more than 30 vital roles in the war, were missing at the moment. Not only did they not leave their breath, but even the connection between Yi Luotian and them could not be found. What's going on? What's going on? Who did it? Deep in the West Depression of Pingshan, Yi Luotian suddenly looked up, and there was a deafening roar in his throat. The powerful force swept outward from his body. The terrible destructive force raised the West Depression of Pingshan in an instant. However, it is a pity that at the moment, no matter how angry he is, the more than 30 strong fighters who have disappeared, as well as LV Zhongtian, are doomed not to come back. As soon as the time turns, it has reached the agreed date of the 10th day. When the sun rose in the east and hit the treetops, Xiao Yang and his party came to Shahepu. After a few years, I came here again today, so I had already changed my appearance. I think he went to Shahepu for the first time to escort Murong Qianqian. Unfortunately, he stayed half the way. The second time, he met Han Dong and met the patriarch of the 4 main doors. At the beginning, he was still weak and needed the maintenance of others, but in a twinkling of an eye, now he comes to Shahepu for the 3rd time. This time, however, Xiao Yang has already stood among the top of the western regions. At the same time, he is in charge of the future destiny of the western regions. When Xiao Yang and his party came to Shahepu, the people in the city were shocked as soon as they saw this magnificent team. Unexpectedly, there is such a huge team hidden in the Shalin Mountains. Naturally, with their eyesight, it can be seen that among Xiao Yang's party, the one with the worst cultivation is also the 3-star fighting emperor, and the strongest among them, needless to say, of course, belongs to the black-robed youth led by him. In the later period of Huyuan territory, these accomplishments are the people who can compete with them in the western regions. I'm afraid Qin Shuor in the valley of Qin Wasteland is the only one who can compete with them. While the people in the city were shocked by Xiao Yang's accomplishments, the latter's young appearance also shocked them. It's really the first time they have seen such a young person with strong chemical source environment after living for so many years. However, when these people saw the cold frost and Kia standing next to Xiao Yang one after another, countless people's faces were instantly petrified, and their eyes were full of horror. Naturally, there were some hidden old monsters in the crowd. Although they did not have the strength of Huayuanjing level, with their excellent eyesight, they recognized the young people next to Xiao Yang and the strong bearded man. These 5 people were all the strength of Huayuanjing level, among them, especially Xiao Yang and the woman wearing a long ice blue skirt on his left, their breath is deep and bottomless, which makes people dare not look directly. Xiao Yang is really a man against the sky. It's hard to imagine that not only he is young and promising, but also his friends are such a small monster against the sky. There are 5 strong people in the source environment. Hey, it seems that Qin Huangmi Valley is going to be unlucky this time. As far as I know, he seems to be only 4 strong people in the source environment in the whole Qin Huangmi Valley. After seeing the 5 strong Huayuanjing in Xiao Yang's team, many people immediately showed an expression of schadenfreude on their faces, and many people even began to look forward to the beginning of the war. Most of these people come to watch the war with the attitude of watching the play. They only care about who the final winner is, but they don't care whether they should take action in the war and which side they should help. The so-called wall grass is nothing more than this. As for sitting on the mountain and watching the tiger fight, they have neither the ability nor the courage. There are many powerful forces hidden in the western regions. Although they have nothing else, they still have this self-knowledge, unless they don't want to die. At noon, Xiao Yang and others were relieved to wait for the arrival of Qin Huangmi Valley in a spacious area in the city. In the process, they both drank tea and laughed. They called the rest of the city surprised. Now that the war is imminent, these people are still in the mood to drink tea and have fun. Are they really not afraid of life and death? At a certain moment, Xiao Yang, who was sitting in the chair, looked up at the western sky. His eyes narrowed. He immediately got up and glanced at the people of Xiaomen behind him. When the public noticed Xiao Yang's gaze, they immediately put away the smile on his face and fell on Xiao Yang. Hey, you guys, the war is coming. I'm still saying that. I hope you don't have a free mind when you fight with Qin Huangmi Valley. If not. In the end, Xiao Yang's eyes gradually swept a cold color, and there was a faint coldness in his words, which made everyone present feel a little chilly. Especially when Xiao Yang's eyes flashed over Fang Tonghui and others, the cold light in his eyes made their faces slightly change. Obviously, although Xiao Yang said this to everyone present, I'm afraid half of his vigilance came for them. Ha ha, the sect leader can rest assured that it is our duty to go through fire and water for the sect leader as well as for the people of Xiaomen. We can kill all the people who come to Qin Huangmi Valley today. Among them, Fang Tonghui first got up and looked at Xiao Yang. When he spoke, his eyes swept over all the people in Xiaomen. When his words fell, all the people in the presence shouted loudly. Such scenes were also quite imposing. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's face showed a warm smile and slowly said, "Hihi, this is naturally the best. As long as we work together to eradicate the Qin Wasteland and Mi Valley, when the war is over, I will naturally give you all the rewards I promised you." When the public heard the word reward vomited by Xiao Yang, a fiery look immediately appeared on their face. Compared with the same door feelings just stated by Fang Tonghui, in their opinion, only the reward mentioned by Xiao Yang is the real thing. In this regard, Xiao Yang's heart also couldn't help laughing. Aside, when Murong Xian and Tongtian Giant Ape saw this scene, they were shocked. Especially Tongtian Giant Ape, after personally seeing Xiao Yang's means, he was afraid of this young black-robed youth. After some shock and awe, Xiao Yang turned around again and looked up at the sky in the west. The corners of his lips touched a cold arc and said faintly, "Here we are." As soon as they said this, all the people behind them immediately got up and looked up at the western sky. Their faces showed a solemn look. At the same time, their fighting spirit also worked. But for a long time, indeed, on the western sky, a mighty team came quickly, like a huge dark cloud over the whole Shahapao. Ha ha ha, Xiao Yang, and your cold frost, today is your time to die. As soon as the crowd reached the sky over Shahepu, Qin Shuo, the leader, fell down with a roar, which changed the faces of all the people in the city and terrified them. This achievement of Qin Shuo is worthy of the existence of terror at the peak of the later stage of Huiyuan territory. Just this roar is full of frightening power. He, heaven and earth are uncertain. Why do you say so full? Aren't you afraid of flashing your tongue? Then, another clear laugh came out. In the city, Xiao Yang and others also quickly flew over the sky and stood opposite the people in Qinhuangmi Valley. Seeing Xiao Yang's team of dozens of people, Qin Shuo's face changed slightly. No wonder Yi Luotian asked him to stay for 10 days and bring so many people before the war. It turned out that there was such a huge force behind Xiao Yang. When Xiao Yang's eyes swept over the people in the opposite Qinhuangmi Valley, sure enough, among these people, with Qin Shuo, there are 3 strong people in the source environment, but there are few leaves falling into the sky. Aware of this, Xiao Yang's eyes immediately narrowed.